Hello, Internet. I'm Matt.
I'm Monster Punter.
And this is the Parallax Rolling Podcast, where we give you our perspective on video games and the news that affects them. This has been an interesting week. Life has been always interesting, but it's really more interesting on the video game side of playing them. Not a whole lot of news, but there's some stuff. But yeah, it's been a bit crazy time. So I'm going to start, if you're okay with that.
No.
I figured. So I actually managed to get a couple games out. Like I said last time, I was trying to get footage for my top 20 Metroidvanias. And I guess this is a spoiler. I was trying to record stuff that I could use for a game that goes by the title Blasphemous. And I got so hooked into getting said footage, I started playing and I finished Blasphemous 2.
Blasphemous. That's simply blasphemous.
Yeah. But it's not bad. That's
a ringing endorsement, apparently.
Well, I mean, compared to the first one, I think I like the first one more, but there is some pretty cool stuff. It's a lot tamer in terms of subject matter.
Okay.
Like pretty much 90% of the people are clothed in this game, as opposed to the original one, where it's very much the Spanish Renaissance artwork style, where pretty much people are naked and it's not enticing because they're being like flailed and ripped apart, and
Okay.
But that doesn't change. There's an NPC in the game. There's a giant lady in a giant robe, like a divine creature person. And she gives you she's the one who extends your health bar and gives you extra healing potions, all that stuff.
Okay.
The more you upgrade yourself and then you come back to see her, there are these little cherubim characters around her. They start peeling her flesh off, starting from her fingers, working down her arm, and then by the end of all the upgrades, she's just a giant red skeleton. and they're still working on trying to get the suit off. Kind of is wild.
Okay,
it was not expected. But I ended up finishing it. It's a lot easier to get the good ending in Blasphemous 2 than it is in Blasphemous 1. And yeah, I still had a good time with it, but I think I liked the first one better. And then I had a little more time. I tried to pick up and start, what is it called? Ender Lilies, Quietus of the Nights. It's another Metroidvania. Because I was just like, I'm gonna try and belt some of my game library out. It's pretty. The battle mechanics are interesting, but I don't know how I truly feel about it yet. I have to finish it to give you an idea.
Okay.
And yeah, pardon the dogs if you hear them. They're dogs having a turf war outside or something. But I also started up Strangers in Paradise.
Yep.
And that's very interesting because it is the first game. It's the first Final Fantasy.
It's supposed to be a sequel to the first one, if I'm not mistaken.
It's not. It's like an alternate. Prequel. It's like an alternate universe story.
Okay.
The only reason I can say that is
alternate universe to be compared to the 4 white mages that saved everything.
Dude, the 4 white mages are awesome. No, you're still the quote unquote warriors of light, but like the people who help you the most in the game are the villains. Like the pirate, you have to beat up. Like you have to beat up the pirate and his crew to get the ship so you can travel around the world. Well, you still have to fight him, but it's just to prove your worth. Once you do, he's like, "I'll take you where you need to go." Like they're still bad guys. They still talk like bad guys, but it's like there's a lot of stuff that makes me question what's really going on in this story. It's interesting, but it's got a cool job system. It's got a cool constantly getting loot. because you got to keep equipping yourself and getting better stats and all this stuff. But it's fun, and I'm enjoying it. We'll see how it pans out in the end. I don't even know how far in I am. It feels like it could be a really quick game or a really long one. I have no idea. But then there's one more game
Just
that I
one.
need to talk about. But before I talk about this one, do you need to talk about any other games besides that one?
I'm in busy season. I barely get any time to play anything.
Okay, so then we just got this one game to talk about.
Yep.
So there's this little game that came out called
Just
Monster Hunter
little.
Wilds.
Little game.
Yeah, a little tiny game, Monster Hunter Wilds, but by a company you may not know called Capcom.
You know, they made
Yeah.
stuff like
Monster Hunter,
and
Monster Hunter 2,
and
Monster Hunter Tri,
that's true.
Monster Hunter Rise, Monster Hunter 2 Portable,
oh, that's true.
Monster Hunter Freedom Unite. I think they made some other games. I can't remember.
Yeah,
Anyways, Monster Hunter Wilds came out. Started playing that.
I think they made this game with residents in them. They helped you, I think.
Yeah, there's Monster Hunter. There's NPCs that help you do stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, so what's your overall opinion of the game so far?
To me, the game seems too easy so far, and the
Yeah.
rewards seem too plentiful.
Yes. But again, we are in early stage. We're only in the first chapter of the story mode, which that's okay. Let's get the big issue out of the way, right? When I play Monster Hunter, my whole point is that I can play this game with my friends to fight monsters and get loot to fight more monsters. That's kind of the point. They pretty much lack the game behind the story. You have to play through the story mode. There's a point where there's a monster on the map that we know of. It exists. We've discovered it in the story. Go to engage it and fight it on my own, and I was told the guild did not authorize my use of hunting this monster, so I can't. I have to leave monsters alone because we're not authorized to fight them yet. That is stupid.
Yeah, let me be clear. In previous games, you could go to the guild hall. There was the story one where you could, was like the village quests. Then you had the guild hall and the guild quests.
Right.
And you could just go into the guild hall, take quests, complete them with your friends, and just do your thing.
The guild story and the village story were two totally separate stories.
Yes.
Like they intersected. Like they kind of had the same theming, but they were really two different stories.
Well, I mean, like, I don't know if I want to call the guild stuff a story, but
It
was a really easy way to get in and just play with your friends and do stuff.
Yeah.
This game is very, very hard to actually play with friends.
Yeah. First off, joining the right lobby together is a pain in the butt. Meeting up with each other at all is kind of a pain in the butt.
Yeah, you gotta link your whole environment to everybody else. You have to do that after you join the same party.
And here's something to keep in mind. So this actually happened to us last night because we were playing. Monster and I are in an area where we're following the storyline together, the exact area. We both get to the point where the monster's revealed and the quest starts. And at that point, we can join each other's quests to help each other progress. I accepted his group or his quest invite, and the game booted me all the way back to our base camp. And I had to ride back out to where the monster was. Even though I had literally just started there.
Yeah.
That's really, really dumb. However, I will give them credit. We both had the same story mission. We both had to fight that monster. I joined your quest and fought him. And for the first time ever in Monster Hunter series, it counted. I was able to get the quota credit for fighting the story monster. That's a step in the right direction.
I mean, there's some things about the game that are really nice. I like the fact that I can just aim at something and shoot my little grappling hook out, slinger grappling hook, and grab various things like.
There's apparently a way you can do that without even having to do that. You can just like there's a way to look at a little mini menu on the side as you're writing on your secret, and it selects the stuff, and you just auto grapple while you're still writing in the right direction.
Oh,
you don't have to aim at it. Like,
Let's
okay,
just take all the skill out of the game.
yeah, I mean, it really does. But I think the big thing also is like this game they really want you to know how much effort they put into the graphics and the setting and everything, because you are forced to move at a snail's pace sometimes. Like your secret, the creature you ride on has the ability to go fast.
well,
you can run, but when the story bits come up, you have to walk, and then it's like a 15-minute bit where you're rotating the camera and looking at all the scenery and all this stuff to set the story. And that's not why I'm playing Monster Hunter. Like, I want to appreciate the scenery, but let me do it on my time. I want to fight monsters. That's the whole point of the game.
I don't mind that so much. We're a little bit of a different opinion on that. My only problem with the game right now is like, I feel like it's just too easy to kill things, but maybe that's also because I've been playing Monster Hunter for, I don't know, coming up almost on 20 years now.
Yeah, I mean, we are veterans to the series, but and so that's why I'm trying to come up with different angles of aside from the combat, because I want to get into the combat, but like just the little things about like trying to join parties, trying to hunt creatures together. It just feels like they took the key things that made Monster Hunter like truly enjoyable, and they tried to change them up to be different, and it didn't pan out well.
Well, we'll see how things go.
We'll see how, we're still going to play it, obviously. It's just,
people are complaining about the performance of the game and everything.
Yeah, there's
right
been
now
a couple
too.
issues, especially on PC. People are having issues.
I think it's very heavy on the CPU, from what I understand right now. And playing the game a bit, I see why. There's a lot of dense vegetation. There's a lot of just animals out there roaming around and doing things. But that's the big ones you can actually kill. But I was running, and there's like all these little itty bitty velociraptor guys.
Tiny little insects. Like there's a point where it's like I saw a swarm of like actual fly-sized insects on an item, and I'm like, that's kind of unnecessary. Like, it's cool.
No,
but like I feel like that adds to the
I think
processing power.
Yeah, all these little things, like those little monsters, were reacting and doing their own thing in the environment. It's not like in Monster Hunter World where I found like the ants taking something and just going, and it was just basically a canned animation, because the PS4 and the Xbox One didn't have very good CPUs in them.
Right.
In PS5 and Xbox Series X, that's better. It's not. They're much better. That was the biggest generational leap as far as like in these newest consoles, is the CPU to a large degree. But still, that they're not the best CPUs around in these consoles, and so all this stuff takes power. But even on PC, it's taking a lot of processing power, and people are complaining about the graphics and that they don't feel that the what you're getting on screen doesn't equal what other games are giving you for that same level of performance.
Power, yeah.
And my argument is maybe that's true to a certain degree, but there is a lot going on in the world. And
I will add this too. I do find it's actually refreshing that compared to the trailer we first saw, they got rid of the uncanny valley the way people talked that we saw in the original trailer. It's a lot more video game like mouth movement, and it feels a lot better.
It's still not great, but
it's much better though. I before it was like jarring how different it was. Now it's a little easier to deal with. But combat. Let's talk combat. Okay, first off, I'm doing something that I have messed with this weapon off and on forever. Yeah. I've always wanted to give it a shot. This is probably the first game since World, and obviously World's not that long ago, but this is the first game since World I really feel like I can stick with this weapon, and that's the hunting horn. They actually have improved the hunting horn. Now, they took away my ability to spin it like a top and do slashing damage, which is kind of sad, but they gave me something called an echo bubble, which, depending on what horn I'm using, does different buffs. And then on top of that, it's easier to read my notes. It's easier to locate what my notes do. It's easier to perform my notes. I can perform different songs at one time. Like I could stack the notes together, chain them properly, and then launch a whole bunch of buffs at once. And not only is there a super move tied to each weapon, that if you play the right notes, you do a really cool ability. There's also attack songs now. And that's huge. Before, like, here's how much of a difference there is. Back in like Monster Hunter 2 Portable, if I had the hunting horn, I had to stay away from the monster because I couldn't get notes out by hitting the creature. I had to swing wildly out in the middle of the field while my friends are trying to fight the monster, and then I get to play a song, and I have to be completely away from the creature the entire time. I was useless. Like, I was buffing the party, but what point was buffing the party at that point? Now, cut to like yesterday, I'm knocking the monster down constantly. One of my horns, I have the ability to paralyze monsters. I am just tearing these monsters apart while my friends are able to add on their damage. I felt awesome. Now, granted, this probably goes back a little bit to what you were saying about how combat feels a little easy, but I feel like things have changed enough that there might be a power scale, especially as we go further into the game, because we still have to get to high rank, and then we have to wait for the expansion to come out so that we can get into master rank. That's how every Monster Hunter game goes.
Yeah, every Monster Hunter has an expansion now.
Yeah, and
it usually comes out a year afterwards.
Yeah, but it's also the point of like, yeah, well, we want to give you enough time to get used to fighting monsters of this caliber. Now we're going to unleash the real heart of the game. I just wish I didn't have to go through the story mode and talk to everybody so much. There's a lot of talking.
I guess at the end of the day, there's no guild. It's just you have the quests you can get from the handler, but the quests available to handler are dependent, at least so far in my experience, depending on how far you are in the story.
And what you've encountered in the game so far.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because there's been a couple like, oh, I killed a random monster. Like, the guild didn't care about it. But now there's a quest to go kill like 12 of them.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, yeah. So we'll see how this plays out. But so far at the beginning, it's got a lot of coolness to it, but it also has a lot of not coolness to it.
Yeah, I reserve the right to change my opinion, too.
Absolutely. I reserve the right to get further in the game and then tell you how wonderful the game is.
Which I hope is the case.
I really do, because, I mean, credit where credit's due. They try to do something unique and different with Rise, like they do with every other Monster Hunter game. Yeah. But there was just something off about the tower defense mode.
I like the tower defense mode in Rise.
Yeah, but at the same time, I kind of wish that was like a completely separate game.
Okay.
You know, like Monster Hunter Stories is a completely separate game. Like, it has nothing to do with being Monster Hunters. It's more like Monster Friends sitting on their backs and doing stuff. Yeah. But this, yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I give them credit for trying new stuff. Let's just see if it pans out more.
So we don't have much in the way of news to talk about.
Yeah, we have one news story.
There is one cool thing to talk about. EA, this comes from Kotaku. EA has done something that I didn't see them doing ever or anything like this. They've made the first 4 Command & Conquer games officially open source. So they're essentially free now. I was going to say, for people who don't know, what is open source? Because that's not commonly a common phrase for people. Well, it's just the fact that anybody can go in and deal and do whatever they want with the source code. The source code's been made public. So you can play the games without ever having to give EA money. And then you can also take those games and add or subtract content from it as you want. Or edit it however you like. Mod it like crazy. And not that they don't do mods in games already, but it's not really common to have source code for the game and to be able to do whatever you want here. And it's really cool, in my opinion, that they've done this. And, people will be able to do many things with the game that were once unheard of. that EA could have done themselves and re-release and try to make some money on, but they're not. So anyway, some of these old games, especially companies that going belly up, maybe this is kind of a cool way to leave something.
It's very surprising that it's EA doing it.
Yeah.
It's very surprising it's EA.
I just wanted to say, good guy EA for once instead of always trashing them, because this is actually something good.
And conversely, as a minor news story follow-up, Nintendo is, for the first time, taking something off of the Switch Nintendo Online store, for lack of a better term there. Super Soccer is being removed as of March 28th in the US and Europe. And the reason it became a news story is probably because it is a slow news week, but it is something you need to be aware of, that they're taking games off of the online service now. It's just a matter of time. Maybe it's because they're getting prepared for Switch 2, but that doesn't matter. It just goes to show that Nintendo does not truly care.
And I used to be so against it to a large degree, but at the end of the day, game preservation is ultimately going to be handled by piracy.
Yep. It's a sad truth.
Yeah.
Because corporate greed dominates our industries.
It's a combination of many things. One being corporate greed, or just companies not wanting to do something. There's companies that go out of business, and what happens to their games? Yeah. There's so many games from yesteryear that how are you gonna ever play them again? They're never going to be released again.
Yeah, they'll never see the light of day unless they are pirated.
Yeah. So I think that's just, at the end of the day, it's what it's going to be.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, like we said, it's kind of a slow news day. We don't have a lot more news to go over, but we do have a little time left. Monster had an idea for a discussion that we're going to have here. So, what I would like to ask of you, since you were listening this far, is after you hear our conversation, please put something in the comments, chime in on how you feel about this subject. Like, what are your requirements? And we'll tell you the subject right now, which is...
what makes a video game good?
What makes a video game good? So please, tell us in the comments, what makes a video game good to you?
Because...
we'll have an open discussion in the comments.
Yeah, because it's inherently going to be different for every person.
Absolutely.
And that's a good thing.
Absolutely. Just because you like a certain game a certain way doesn't mean I'm going to like it that way. And that's okay. You're okay to be wrong.
So,
I'm surprised you didn't catch that. I'm surprised that just went right over your head.
Wow.
You usually call me out on that kind of stuff. So you know what that means? He agrees with me.
I don't know. He's allowed to be wrong sometimes.
Uh-huh.
All right. I'll start because...
I kind of have one answer, but it's in multiple parts. So I think it might be easier for you to do yours first.
I think the real answer is it depends on the type of game I'm looking to play.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, based on the game that I'm going to play, I expect different things. Like, if I'm going to play a fighting game, I want to have execution problems be because of me, not because of the interface I'm using.
The controller.
The programming. I want compelling...
your opponent.
Yeah. I want compelling characters that seem cool. And I want some razzle-dazzle in my fighting games now, you know? But if I'm playing like an RPG, I want an engaging story. I want characters that I care about and want to see things happen to, whether good or bad. If I'm playing something like Burger Time or Pac-Man, I don't care about any of that. I just want to get as far as I can in them and as high a score as possible and just test my skills to see how far I can go. So I think depending on what I'm playing, I have different things. I think in it, competition, cooperation, a good gameplay loop. At the end of the day, the gameplay loop and everything that you're doing is probably one of the, if not the most important things.
Well, for me, what makes a good video game? The
Whatever
key,
I say.
No, the key answer is to make it a good game for me, because I played plenty of games that are not good. A good game pulls me in. I am invested in one way or another, and that's through multiple aspects. One being, can I look at this game and not vomit? That's a big one. And I'm talking. I'm not talking just like camera movement. I'm talking like, do the characters on this screen look like they came out of a Play-Doh oven and somebody pulled them out too early, or whatever.
Nidhogg.
Yeah. Well, Nidhogg is great for its own reasons. But yeah, does the game pull me in? Do the graphics fit what the game's trying to do? The music. Is the music memorable enough that I will sing it or hum it to myself later on and think back finally onto that game? You can look at any Castlevania game, any Mega Man game, a lot of old school games. I can just pull a song out and be like, oh yeah, that's a cool game. Gameplay mechanics. Again, like you said, the controls fit what I'm doing. Overall fun factor. Again, that's like, am I going to be able to sit down and play this game and go, oh, wow, I can't believe I spent 2 hours playing this? Or is it going to be, oh, I've only been playing for 10 minutes. This game sucks. It's so the key factor is, does it pull me in? And that will go into my top 20 Metroidvanias, as I mentioned earlier, because those are games that pulled me in one way or another. And it's how they pulled me in that I'll probably address when I make that video. That's really kind of the key factor. Like the subject material, I understand, is a very difficult subject to narrow down, because again, everyone has their own options. Like we said, like what makes a game good. For some people, it is I'm able to get the high score all the time. Yeah. Some people, it is I collect all the achievements. Like I'm able to collect all the platinum every game, or 100% every game. It definitely varies on what the game is. Which, for any achievement hunters out there is a game where the only way you can beat it is to get 100% achievements. And it's called Progress Quest. It costs like $1, and you'll see why. It's a dumb game, but it's funny. It made fun of achievements. It was like, oh, congratulations, you pressed left, here's an achievement. Oh, you learned how to jump, here's an achievement. That kind of stuff. But yeah, it's a vague answer, but it really is what pulls you in, what grabs my attention, what makes me want to come back to this game every time. Can you think of a game as an example that you would use for your
oh geez, I gave like more concrete things.
I understand, that's what I'm saying, like, but for you, what is a good video game? Like, what game is a good video game?
Well, we've been talking about Monster Hunter. Historically, Monster Hunter's been one. I played a ton of Street Fighter 2 and King of Fighters back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Loved those in the arcade. I played Junior Pac-Man relentlessly once upon a time. Those are all different types of games.
Right.
And I've also loved and enjoyed MMOs because they were,
they pulled you in.
Well,
I mean, for me,
the people I played with pulled me in more than the game itself in that respect.
Well, right, but I guess I would add that to the multiplayer factor.
Yeah.
If it's a multiplayer game, am I able to play with my friends? And am I able to make friends? you know, because there are multiplayer games out there with some toxic people playing them.
Well, every community has its toxic.
Right, but I'm just saying, like,
But-
it's easier to bump into toxic people more than not, and so it you know that factors. For me, I would say, gosh, yeah, Monster Hunter is a good game. Depending on which one it is, it's not always a great game, but it is a good game. Really, you're gonna find this a little hard for me to say, but I can't sit there and tell you that every Soulsborne game that I've ever played is a good game.
He's lying, people.
No, I'm not. I'm not. Like, I'm going to be one of those people. I will tell you, Elden Ring, not all that great.
Oh wow, you're gonna make someone really happy. I know.
I am probably. The thing is that game gets old quickly. It's more about it's more about the areas you progress and the items you get more than the character you get to build. Like for me, I would much rather play Dark Souls 3 than Elden Ring, because with Dark Souls 3, I can literally craft the character I want to be. Like if I want to play a bow only mode, I can do that easily. Whereas with Elden Ring, it's a lot harder to do because you're not able to access all ranged weapons right away, and some of the best ones in the game aren't until like late game. You know, it's a trade off. So. Yeah, I think leaving there on that controversial statement is probably good. But we want to hear from you guys. What are your factors for making a good game? And give us an example if you could. Like, what do you think is a good game? That's a great thing to know too. We'd really love to hear from you. Beyond that, like, comment, share, appease the algorithm. It's really something I should be saying at the beginning of every podcast because that's what the algorithm wants, but I haven't been able to appease the algorithm in 8 years, so whatever. But yeah, we're going to get going. It's kind of a weird episode today, but we're still glad we got to do it. We're still glad we get to hear from you, so please give us some feedback. And we will talk to you guys in the next one. Until then, have yourselves a fantastic week. Have an awesome time playing your video games. We'll see you in the next one.
Take care.
Later.